air because we're still. Oh, there we are. Now we're live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Comes Out Loud, our podcast of Indeterminate Length. Episode number 280 is another one of our Let's Talk About Sex. My name is Jeff, and it's with me. I've got Gary.
Hello.
And, of course, our ever hangoutish host, guest host, and especially for these Let's Talk About Sex shows, we have Hadrian.
Hello.
And also joining us is the incredibly kissy Gabe.
Hello, everybody.
And I love how it switched to Hadrian for some reason. At least from my point of view. In any case, so today's episode we're talking about the digital release, which is basically using apps and websites and digital stuff in order to get off. I don't know how else to introduce that. Gary, you must have thought
I
this
want
one
to get a
out.
clarification because I was thinking about the different ways that can be interpreted. Does this mean using apps for hookups, or does it mean using apps for masturbatory aids?
Both.
Yes.
Both? Okay.
The answer is yes.
So apps that help you
Conceptually,
masturbate alone and apps that help you masturbate with a friend.
let's put it this way: technology that allows you to have an orgasm.
However you end up having that orgasm. So we're talking about things like porn and websites to connect to people to hook up, and apps and Grindr and Growler and
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
I don't know. Using the stuff like Tumblr is more like, I mean, doesn't that take the place? It's like a digital magazine. Doesn't that take the place of your dad's Playboy kind of thing?
It does.
Well,
I mean, people
Okay.
have been doing it for centuries. I mean, I'm sure there was some caveman beating off to a cave wall somewhere thousands of years ago. Look at that stick. It's so fucking hot. Yeah.
I'm not okay. I'm never gonna look at like history of humanity again the same way thanks to that comment. But
You don't.
I agree to what you were saying, Hadrian. I think that Tumblr for me has really become that, and I'm glad you phrased it that way because I've been feeling lost about Tumblr in that I don't get off on Tumblr. I enjoy looking at the pictures, and I like watching what few videos you can find on there anymore. But I don't use it as a release aid, I'll say.
Okay.
It's visually stimulating, and I think of it more kind of like an art book. I don't know how else to say it. Like it's very visual. It's tons of pictures, and you get to see.
I understand.
Yeah, but like I don't find particular pictures like extra stimulating that I focus on that picture. But that's
So-
probably because, as I'll discuss later, I have other things that work. So
well, if you go back a while, the first time I ever had anything to help me to get some sort of digital release, it actually was Usenet groups. What is it? alt.erotica.mail or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm sure BBS has played a part in that as well. It's texting each other to get off on it. Tell me how titties are, and that was enough.
Anybody
so-
remember the bulletin boards or the chat groups where you would text back and forth on using your computer? Like
Yeah.
Prodigy, way back when.
AOL chat rooms were, yeah, that was a
Good
good
rooms. Yep, yep.
gay.com chat.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I
Yeah,
met Carl.
yeah, once upon a time.
What was that, Jeff? How you and Carl met?
Yeah, we met through gay.com chat.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And eventually offline, and then eventually in WoW because he told me, hey, you should get this game called World of Warcraft. Here's an invitation to the beta.
The addiction begins.
It's all his fault.
So I wouldn't necessarily think of WoW as a digital release, but perhaps it is for some people.
Well,
I'm not that
Yeah,
familiar.
never.
There are sexual role-playing groups in World of Warcraft. I think every MMO has some sexual group in it somewhere hidden about.
It's called Goldshire on Moonguard.
Wow.
I do know several people that use it solely. They don't do it for the adventuring. They do it for the texting back and forth and whacking off while doing that. I do, but there's also the added kink, not fetish, uh, of the animated characters.
So that brings up an interesting thing I just realized is with the advent of cellular technology, now we have sexting where people take images or video of them doing things and send it to a prospective uh, participant or partner. Did we do that with texting, with pagers, with early cell phones? I don't recall, but then I'm thinking it's kind of like my age. I didn't get a cell phone till I was out of college.
Well, pagers typically, in my experience, well, the first page I had a pager in high school, and it was you called in, and somebody had to type what you were saying and send it as the page. So saying that to some Molly in Arkansas, saying, "Oh, Molly, can you tell my wife I can't wait home to get my face in her breasts," or "Hey, I can't wait to get home and suck your dick," or something like that. I mean, that's a bit personal to be saying to an answering service.
Well, this brings up the topic of I have several deaf friends, and before we had cell phones or texting, the only way to get a hold of someone who wasn't there was to use the relay service, which is the same situation, where you're calling someone and they're typing to the deaf person, and then they have to read back whatever the deaf person types. It's their job. And my boyfriend at the time, James, and I would purposely call each other and do phone sex just to make the operators uncomfortable.
Wow.
Gabriel!
That's amazing.
So you would actually use relay operator services specifically for sex phone chat, like just to drive the operator crazy.
Well, we're doing that now. It's just the NSA's reading
it. Right. Well, and without fail, the operator would. Oh, my shift is over. I'm going to have to switch to a different operator. Without fail, the man would come on next.
It does happen to be the end of somebody's shift.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting that you say that. It's interesting that you say that, Gabe, because a friend of mine, an acquaintance, who moved from Erie to Florida, just yesterday on Facebook posted a message, and he developed his deafness probably at a young age. I want to say that there was a sickness. I don't know quite what it was. I don't want to say flu, but something that ended up affecting his hearing, and he lost it. But he did this whole video message, and he posted on Facebook, and he signs the entire thing. And I'm like, oh, God, it's so good to see him. And then I was like, and I can't remember shit about ASL and what he's saying. And, of course, he finger spells so fast, and I'm like, ugh. It was quite funny, but it was good to see his face and to see that he's still doing well, and his his hair's grown out. He's a little tanner, but it was nice. And so that says to me, because you are active with that community and being an ASL interpreter, do you know if the web and the webcam chat, like the thing we're doing now, if that's really transitioned the form of communication for that community, like the video calling aspect, I guess?
Yeah, the relay service has moved to real-time video relay. So deaf person calls in on his computer with his camera and signs his question, and the person at the relay service is an interpreter who gets that and then types out to or speaks on a headset to whoever's the hearing person on the other end. But why would a deaf person use that if everybody has a cell phone now anyway and text?
Right. So do you know, because I was leading specifically to more this question, do you know if individuals if those individuals, and I say those because I'm not as acquainted as I used to be with those that are hearing impaired or deaf, do you know if they use video chat like we're discussing today, for sexual, I guess, interaction with another person?
I haven't asked, but I'll be sure to do that the next time I see something. I would imagine yes. I mean, there are perverts out there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can vouch for that and say yes. I had a number of hearing impaired people that I played around with on camera back in the I Speak and ICU 2 days. Back when video chatting was making a big deal in the mid 2000s, and everybody had cameras at home and setting up lights and everything. There were several guys that I played around with on that service that were hearing impaired. So it's much easier for them to communicate because they could type everything they wanted to type, and have the visual aspect, and there wasn't a language barrier.
It's true. I mean, because how much talking do you do when you're Skyping? It's, ooh, hot, that's hot, do this.
Well,
right, so for a second I say, I want to see your ass, and they, I mean, seriously, how much verbally do you use on Skype?
Actually, I can say that yes, there's a lot of communication that goes on when playing around on camera, at least for me, because it's not just about getting off with another person. I can do that with any number of websites. Sometimes it's about the situation you're talking about, what you're going to get into. Yes, Daddy, touch me like that. Stuff like that. I'll go ahead and get into the role play aspect of some video chat and other kinds of chat online. Is that it's not just about how big is it. It's about getting into some nitty gritty detail, especially if they're thousands of miles away and there's no chance of ever meeting them. But you want to experience that person via camera, and you have their attention right there in front of you. So why not explore things besides just what you can see? That's easy. That's like shooting fish in a barrel. Is that fair? I don't know. Am I the weird one out here?
No, I think you're. I'm thinking back to like the one or two times that I've actually Skyped with someone, and I had a three-way with a guy where he and I were in his home, and his partner was here, and his partner is in San Francisco. We just happened to have like the giant 6-foot big screen that we put his partner on.
No.
It was nice. So that was how I met.
That is super hot. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a private show. That's like, almost a chatterbait sort of type of situation where somebody's watching some other people doing what they do, and maybe saying, "Hey, why don't you do this?" or making suggestions.
And actually,
just to get off.
I want to go ahead and point out that's something I hate. But that's part of the reason I don't do video chat much anymore. And I didn't like it back in the iSpeak and ICU2 apps, and I've done it a few times on Skype, but not much. I kind of got out of it. But I hate being told what to do on camera. Can you lift your leg like this? Can you spread your butt cheeks? Can you lift your balls? Can you do it? I'm not your motherfucking Barbie doll.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question for the professor. But you have done adult film, and I'm quite sure at some point was told what to do for film, right?
That's work.
Paid for that. Besides getting paid for it, most directors trusted my judgment. That's why I'm so popular, is because I know what to do on my own. But a director would say, "Hey, we need you to move into a 69 over here on the couch. Can you do that?" Sure. And I would move that way. And give me where you want me to be, but don't say, "Can you lift your elbow like this and put your angle at this way and spread your butt cheek?" No. Don't give me. I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Slight difference between porn and chatterbait.
Yeah.
Lack of a better term.
And even chatterbait, they're getting paid for that, like the coin system and all that other stuff. I mean, they're getting paid for that in a certain sense. So, I mean, if somebody says, spread your butt cheeks, I'll give you 100 coins, you better be spreading them butt cheeks.
Okay, so that brings up a point. Let's discuss the first of, I'm sure, many websites and or apps, because that was kind of the concept behind this. What do we think about these sites like Cam4, Chatterbait? I'm sure there's some others as well. That the concept is people go on there and they webcam and chat, mostly for free, although there's a pay system. The models, quote unquote, the people on cam, which are basically everybody and anybody, can choose to accept tokens or not accept tokens. I find it interesting, and I'll be honest, I go on one of them nearly all the time because that's where I've noticed my taste and my preference has shifted. When I started, when I was much younger, erotica, written fiction, and two-dimensional captured images and magazines and stuff was really kind of my outlet. And then over time, a lot of that has shifted. And for a long time, XTube was an outlet. Watching videos, mostly amateur stuff, some professional things. But now I've noticed in the past year, live interaction webcam is like the thing that is of kind of my preference. Does anybody else kind of notice that in themselves, or have you not had experiences with those type of sites yet?
I've tried it, and it was all right for a while, but then I kind of got bored. Because sometimes by the time that you're looking at somebody, you either have to pay them to do something to help turn you on, or they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there naked or something, just staring at the screen, trying to chat with the people in the chat room. So getting off doesn't really do much for me. So I kind of got bored with it, essentially.
Anybody else?
I have always preferred to read about sex and the written word or the reading stuff. So I might have 12 Years of Handjobs magazine on my Kindle. I might. Yes.
That's
I'll
available
send you
on
the
Kindle?
I had more than
Wait,
To me, do you have
wait.
Amazon Prime?
Time out. Gary's learning something new today. I'm learning a lot of things that are new, apparently. You can get hand jobs on your Kindle, like the print subscription?
No. What you do is someone has scanned it, and you send it to your Amazon email address, and they will translate it into the PDF for you so that you can read it.
It's basically just a file conversion thing.
Yep.
So
Now, to be fair, because what you're describing sounds like you're not paying for it, right?
That's very correct.
Bad.
Somebody paid for it, but I did not.
They do sell PDF directly off the website, just by the way.
Oh, okay.
And I believe in supporting them if they're making it for a format I can read, and you can ship it right over to Amazon and do it right off. So
Where you
So-
get it, I
I'm
can.
a fan myself, and I get them every few months or so if I see something that's really interesting me, and I try to pay for it if I can.
That's where. Wait, Gary. Where? Where,
On their
Adrian?
website. Well, on their actual website. So there's a
On
plain
their actual website. Okay.
okay, so it's what is it? Handjobs.com or something?
HJMag.com.
HJmag.com.
All right, I gotta
Okay,
put
going
this.
there right now.
I gotta put this in later for a link. hjmag.com.
Well, type it.
And they have like an age verification thing, and I think that it'll let you right through. But if you type /handjobs at the end, it'll take you right to the site.
Oh. Slash.
So
Ooh, they got a good.
what I was gonna say is, now that we kind of know that there's this ability in the website, is that Hadrian has made it very well known in previous podcasts, maybe more than once, because we've touched on this topic of stealing or taking things that were meant for profit and not actually paying to the people that produce it, whether it be videos or written things, pictures, all the different kind of stuff. And so that's where Hadrian's perspective, and I understand where he's coming from. And to be honest, ever since we've started chatting, Hadrian, I'm much more conscious of the fact, like even on Tumblr, I don't reblog pictures that to me are very obviously not authorized or allowed. Like, for instance, talking about Chatterbait, I know people that will capture image stills or video of someone on Chatterbait, and it has the little logo on it, you know what I mean? And then they post it on Tumblr, and while I totally understand why they posted it, because guy's fucking hot, however, that's, like, against, you know, their personal identity rights, especially if you read their profile, which most people don't pay attention to, and doesn't have any legal standing, where they put the whole disclaimer of you do not have permission to reblog, blah, blah, blah. Kind of a thing.
Well, and
But,
sorry.
oh, I don't use Chatterbait servers. I tried a few times, and I don't think it did much for me because I didn't want to spend the money because I'm a cheap bastard.
Mm-hmm.
But it also just didn't do anything to stimulate me, I guess. I don't know, paying someone to do something seemed like fun, and I'm glad they found a way to monetize that market because, like, ladies' night at strip clubs and that sort of thing, if you didn't have a ladies' night, it would be a sausage fest all over the place. And cam services have that same problem, like ICT and iSpeak, is that there are always going to be more voyeurs than there are going to be exhibitionists. And
Right.
you're giving the exhibitionists a incentive to show themselves. And the coin system works amazing. Whoever came up with it needs a fucking Nobel Prize. It's impressive. I mean, it really, because they're getting a piece of the pie, the company's getting a piece of the pie, The voyeurs are having to spend money because they're the ones that are lurking and not really spending any money or bringing any value to the site, and you're forcing them to bring value to the site. So I got to give it. I mean, a friend of ours, she's a female, and she does the cam stuff, and she lets the guys control her Hitachi vibrator thing. And she's like, if you guys give me 1,000 coins, I'll put it on high. And then she'll say, oh, it's too much. Give me 1,000 coins, and I'll put it down on low. And they flood her with fucking coins. She makes a ton of money off of it. She actually, I think that's kind of the way she makes a living, and it works really well for her. And it's totally safe, and she's having a good time. Everybody else is having a good time. It's good, safe, clean fun, compared to what we could be doing.
Well, so when it comes to ChatterBait, I will confess and own I have not spent a single penny on it, because. All right, I'll own it. I'm cheap. And if I could watch guys for free who do not require tokens, then I won't. And notably, and it's funny because some friends of mine recently, I've talked about it, they've kind of gotten into looking at it and watching it, and they made a comment to me. They're like, how do you find all these guys? And I was like, well, it takes time because it doesn't have a good searchability system, especially geographically. They just introduced hashtags recently, which is kind of interesting, but you basically kind of have to keep scrolling through all the cams that are open, and then when you see someone physically that kind of looks, of interest, you kind of watch them and you get a feel for, will they show, won't they show, do they require tokens, do they not require tokens, and and that kind of stuff, and so I've built up a following list, I guess, people that I follow, and the majority of them you don't have to pay. If nearly all of them, and it depends on the frequency of how often they're on, the majority of the guys are okay with guys watching. If they happen to be gay or bisexual or straight and they don't care, it kind of runs a spectrum. So I would say this to anybody who's never tried a site like this before. Yes, there are definitely those that consider it professionally as a model, as a side income, or as their complete income, and you'll figure that out because they won't do anything without you dropping some coin, basically. But then there are other people that actually are very anti that, and they go in the other direction. They'll put in their profile, they're like, I don't want tokens, I don't need tokens. Some people are in the middle, they're like, if you give me tokens, I pay them on to other people, I never cash out. So yeah, I think that it's just about kind of figuring where and when. But I also note that some people said to me, they're like, oh, there aren't very many big guys on there. Like, there aren't very many bears and stuff. And I'm like, well, over the past year, more and more have been coming to the site. But again, it's about comfort. Notably, our community, I think, from my perspective, has more challenges with body acceptance and how they feel about themselves. And a site like that, actually, in a probably a strange way to some people, is very affirming, because you actually have people telling you that they like the way you look and want to do things with you or to you, and that's not something that you necessarily always get, say, when you go out to a bar or other things.
When you're on Camp or ChatterBait or anything like that, you're exposed to a whole range of people. And if you're a big boy up there and you're jerking off and you're showing off all your stuff, some people aren't going to be accepting of that. And is where in an isolated community, say Bear for 1-1, Growler, etc., those are more isolated to our community. Therefore, you're marketing to people that want to see you.
So we need
big boys are likely to get harassed on an open community like that.
We need a chatter bear.
Yes.
If you see a need.
I think bear bait would probably be a better name for a site. Or baiter bear?
Baiter, like masturbator bear? Nice, nice.
Yeah. I don't know. Hadrian's busy making faces. None of these seem to be...
I'm thinking about it now. Is it Master Bear?
Master Bear sounds like something associated with recon or something.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Oh, there's those ones. You see the ones that end up on Tumblr that are rebranded from ChatterBait to Chubberbait?
Like they made up a site? Like it's not a real site?
They actually cover the logo. It looks like the ChatterBait logo, but it's Chubberbait.
Cute.
Like Chub Scouts.
Yeah.
Nice.
Scouts, yeah.
Interesting. So, all right, so since I've kind of talked about that, I'm curious, where do you guys stand on what do you use? Gabe, you kind of made reference that you enjoy reading erotica. Is that your primary outlet?
It is. It also depends on, what's at hand. I'll be honest, first thing in the morning, my phone's right there because it's my alarm clock, and if I scroll quickly enough or have the right folks on Tumblr that I'm following, I can hit a couple of videos and I'm done. It does take me the average 7 minutes, I think.
7.3 minutes. That's next show.
Yeah, in reference to the future topic where we talk about where men last longer because they're bigger. Yeah.
But it depends on what time of day it is. At work, I would probably use the Kindle and in the bathroom on my lunch break or whatever. So.
Really?
You don't?
You naughty bear. Okay, well, to be fair, I have to own I work from home, so I'm not a good candidate to understand this thing because I no longer go to a building to work. This is my office. I'm home. So if I wanted to at home, I could very easily because I don't have hundreds of people roaming the building where there's potential of getting caught. I guess that's what I'm imagining for you.
So I have a question on the written side here quickly.
Mm-hmm.
What are your sources, and notice there's an S there, of written erotica? Besides, we know you have some hand drops, but anywhere else?
There's a couple of news groups I belong to. They're all links. I don't even know what they. I couldn't speak them, but I can get them to you. A couple of news groups.
So how about Nifty?
Really? You bad boy.
Me.
Giving away our secrets.
Wait! I don't know these things. Hold on.
Whoa.
No, jumping on this.
Hold on, we got the chat window over here. Hold on. I'm just going to type them all out.
Okay.
So, Jeff, what is the site that you were just holding up on your iPad? Nifty.org. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that an erotica text only type of site?
Yes, it is. Okay. And it doesn't just have gay stories, but also has bi stories and lesbian stories too, of different categories. And you just click into gay, and then you click into the category, and just kind of scroll through the list of titles. And some of them are one shots, some of them are serials. There's some of them with like 20 chapters.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. I'll go and admit I have the URL I like memorized for Nifty, and it's nifty.org/nifty/gay/incest. I go straight there, and that's my.
Woo!
Yeah, I know what you were going for. I know you. You're just waiting for somebody to say it. I'll go ahead and say what I go for. I go to nifty.org, and I mostly start there, and I've been reading all those since 1998, I think. And sometimes I'll go to the buy side. Sometimes I'll go for the some of the longer ones, like in the sci-fi and fantasy ones, get kind of cool sometimes. Then I go to ASSTR.org. That's another literature site, but it's less moderated. Nifty takes stuff that comes into ASSTR and moderates it into their site so that they can weed out some of the really risque stuff and sometimes rapey, gross shit and all the other gross stuff. They try to moderate that out, and at least keep it in moderation. And then ASSTR is everything. And you can find, if you want your mother-in-law riding a pony, squishing mayonnaise between her toes while singing Yankee Doodle Dandy, you will find that porn on ASSTR. That's how extensive their library is.
Wow. It's like...
I just turned Gary on. Look at that face.
No, it is not turned on. It is befuddlement. Because the idea of someone going side saddle equestrian with their toes in aioli is just not something I imagined ever.
No, I'm serious. There is an extensive amount. I mean, you can find what you're into on that site.
So it's basically a repository of stuff on the news group.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Okay. So.
Well, and sorry.
And then the last one I go to is literotica.com, and that's the same thing. It's moderated, and it's more straight stuff, but some of it's pretty hot, so I check that out on occasion too.
I also go to the is it Bear Underground, and they have a literature section, isn't it? And Bear Forest. Bear Forest has a lot of stuff too.
Bear Underground?
Maybe I'm Bear Forest.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Because there was a guy.
Forest.
Yeah. Plus, I do have an extensive personal collection of, although not electronic, written material from multiple years of magazines that I did buy.
Nice.
Okay, so now we just need someone to write a Cubs Out Loud erotica story.
So, okay, skipping over that. Gabe, my question. Gabe, my question to you is: would you be interested? Not that I'm offering it up, but I have about an 85% complete collection of Bear magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Was that something that you would find appealing or intriguing or interesting, because their run from Bush Creek Media pretty much included erotica in every issue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a couple of years worth, and I was in a Bear Grizzly, and so I got a year's subscription with them and kept it on. So yeah, I would be interested in that. I don't mind paging through, holding it something. Some one-handed fiction, as they call it.
Nice.
And you know, especially with websites, and even if you have the PDFs, they work brilliantly on an iPad. There's a reason for
the works for Apple might say.
Right, because that's
I work at Apple. I don't work for Apple.
Oh, okay.
Because that is exactly what Steve Jobs was thinking when he introduced the iPad, that all the geeks out there were going to be using this handheld tablet for fapping.
Absolutely. And
with the nice smart cover, you can just kind of have it propped up on your belly like this.
Mm-hmm. Or you can do like some of us do in bed with their phones, and they're like all this and doing the business, and then
yeah. There is some
boyfriend comes up and says, "Why do you have an iPhone-shaped red mark here?" Why?
I fell asleep on it. Yeah, right. Of course, the people at Apple the marketing people at Apple were thinking of that. You can't tell me they weren't.
So I wonder how many ideas for promotions got knocked down because, while funny and true, they weren't able to actually release that type of a campaign.
Release.
Anyways. So, outside of so I think we've covered the written textual stuff pretty well. Got a list of websites going. What about visual stuff? As far as, does anybody find? Because I already said a picture. Well, a picture can, what is the saying?
1,000 words.
Yes, that thing. Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A picture does not give me 1,000 reasons to get off. I guess I will say it that way for me. Does anybody find pictures like erotic or non-erotic, like alluring enough that you actually get off to them?
Not anymore. I still have a porn folder on my computer, full of old pictures that I got from news groups and such, or stole from websites, and pictures of what people have sent me, and other things that were naughty, but I just decided to just save them for my own personal collection. And I'm actually looking at it right now. I haven't accessed this folder in I don't know how long. Okay. I have 1,387 items in here.
Now, I'm feeling some deja vu here, but I have a folder just like that, and while I don't find a single picture always work, but if you set the slideshow going, then you've got multiple pictures that you've already picked that are attractive to you that pop up. But the OCD part of my brain is like, oh, I need to put these in folders. So there's dick, and there's fucking, and there's sucking. Gary, don't tell me you don't do this because I know you'd be lying. But I did discover one of my kinks by doing this because there was a huge folder that was guys in the water with gray hair and bellies. So I'm like,
Whoa. See, what you need to do is get a program like Picasa or something, and you hashtag them.
ah.
So that's the modern age of digital pictures.
Okay, so this is going to be a revolutionary shock to everybody who knows me to have some undiagnosed level of OCD. Believe it or not, any folder that I've ever had, it is just called men, and that is it. I do not subfolder it and get into this whole thing about, like, you know, bellies versus beards versus butts or any. Nope. Like, as much as that, like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, that makes logical sense. It's kind of like a Dewey Decimal System of porn. I don't I don't do that. Surprisingly, it's men.
I'm surprised.
Probably because now that I think about it, I moved beyond. I don't even. I know those aren't the right words. No longer does still photography really kind of trip my trigger that way, which leads me to the next technology thing I want to touch about, because I think they're kind of intertwined, is apps. Specifically, for example, Grindr, Growler, Scruff, these type of apps that are meant to be socially based. However, they all have some aspect of, here are my pics, or I've unlocked my pics, or that type of a thing. I think that's where I see them, is it's just that. It's just an image of you. It doesn't necessarily do anything, because there's the potential, at least through the app, that you could meet. So maybe, to me, I've already kind of made that decision for myself that a photograph is a photograph. I couldn't give two hoots about that. Do you know what I mean? Like, the person to me is far more interesting or appealing if there's potential.
Interesting. I kind of have that same thing. I don't have a collection of porn that I've kept from over the years. There have been the occasional unusual picture that I want to hold on to because it's extremely hot, and almost all of them have been pictures of real people in real life. Like, okay, I was sucking my boyfriend off, but he was laying on the couch so sexy, I took a picture and posted it. That's hot to me. All the circumstances around that, but like studio-produced image porn, the industry years ago decided they weren't going to make money from images anymore, and that they needed to be free ads. They needed to give the pictures away. And they for the most part, do. Like, I used to work with Corbin Fisher, and we would release pictures, post them on the website for anybody to look at, and those pictures would be copied everywhere, and we didn't care because it always linked back to our video, and that's what we really wanted people to buy. Nowadays, I kind of view most images that are professionally produced as completely boring. I mean, I could see a picture of that and a picture of the Andy Griffith Show, and they're like the same thing to me. There's no sexual connotation. It's just the same kind of marketing. I do have a collection of photos, but those collections of photos are actually what I've referred to as my library. Anytime someone messages me and sends me pictures of themselves, I take their screen name and I create a folder and I put their pictures in that. And I have a collection that goes back to 1998 from the AOL chat room days. And one day I'm going to get a senator in big trouble. I have a huge. I mean, I have like 1,500 people in there. I'm kind of shocked at it because I didn't keep everybody, but anybody who was actually hot enough to hold on to, I throw them in the folder. I kept any pictures I found of them. I've learned how to connect the folders together, so I know this person on this screen name is that person on that screen name. And people will say to me, "Hey, do you know who this is?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got all these pictures. Here's pictures of him when he was 19." Kind of stuff. So
nice.
So that's that real imagery of people get to me, and it's not. And I understand the idea that a picture is just a picture, and that there's no real connotation to it. But sometimes I find myself looking at a picture and picking out everything else about it. Like I'll look at their bathroom sink and I'll look at the background. I'm like, oh, they're in their mother's house. I can tell. That kind of stuff. All the circumstances that go around what made this individual be sexual in this particular situation as a real person. Really turns me on versus, oh, they're standing in front of a blue screen being, a professional photographer being paid $200 to waggle the dick at the camera. That does nothing. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I will admit that.
Yeah, it's about the real live individuals.
What would be referred to as amateur, even though
Agreed. Yeah. And like even video, I don't watch professionally made video anymore. I find myself going to XTube and XHamster and looking at real people having sex. Someone who's fucking while holding the camera, pointing it down. That's hot because that's a real thing going on.
I think it's interesting that you say that, Hadrian, because the photography that I actually appreciate is the non-pornographic photography. Like, for example, Ray Ray does amazing portraits, stills of like individuals and couples. I find them more erotic than the stills that are shot for promotional for professionally made film or for websites. And it's interesting because I think about it and I'm like, yeah, but Ray Ray's pictures rarely are they considered pornographic. Do you know what I mean? Or even leaning towards that. It's just well composed, scene or subject matter, so to speak.
Isn't that also kind of a slight definition between porn and erotica?
Or porn and art.
I've been a big fan of Gian Orso ever since I saw his first stuff online years ago. And he does similar stuff. It's not always naked, but it's people that he knows, real people.
Yeah, there's and I'm gonna probably not get his name right. I want to say it's Lee Soo. He's done some amazing photography. His notably has more male nudity in it, I think, than what Ray Ray's does. But it's just, I don't know. Like, to me, camera artwork is an amazing skill and craft, and if you've got the right eye and skill aptitude, you can take amazing photography that looks almost supernatural. Like, I mean, you know it's real, but I mean the focus, the whole perspective lighting, it's pretty amazing. Because I think it was about a year or so ago I discovered it on Tumblr, and I was kind of like, damn, like that's amazing stuff, and made me think, like, if I'm ever going to be photographed, that's the type of person I want to take my picture, regardless of what the intent of the picture is. I just think that they've got that eye, so to speak, and that ability.
Well, talking about stills, what about the Japanese manga porn, where you've got everything from the guys that are tied up in intricate bondage and these fanciful machines that don't exist that they're attached to, or you've got people that what
Tentacles.
tentacle porn, right? Good thing Matt's not here. But
I find those intriguing, but the only time I see anything about those are like when somebody puts some stuff on Tumblr, and I'm like, well, I want to see the whole thing.
Well, I would suggest you contact Chess, because I think he has some physical copies of a book called of several books, and if you could get him to loan them or borrow them, they're actually very.
I'll have to think about that sometime.
But I mean, it's a still photograph. Again, it's a still picture, but it's not real. But it's still exciting to me. Anybody else, or what about the anthropomorphized, furry porn?
I get off on that stuff too. There's the hentai is what you're referring to, and the particular subgenre you're talking about, bara, and it's gotten really popular on Tumblr, and I happen to be a fan of it myself. I have posted a link up to a guy who does translations of bara from Japanese to English, of course, and there's some really hot stuff in there. I've got to some of the artists there, and you got to pay attention to what artist is doing what, of course. Because that's the nature of art. You have to know who made it, what's going on in their mind when they made it. That turns me on, and it's not necessarily something sexual I'll straight up masturbate to it, but it gets me aroused. And then when I'm playing around with Bailey, it kind of adds to all of that. It kind of gets the motor going. It's not the gasoline, it's the oil. But and then there's, of course, furry porn as well, which has also gotten very popular. And I find it all over Tumblr, where it's, anthropomorphic animals that are, engaging in sexual acts, which can be very hot too, depending on how humanoid they are. To me, is my personal preference. I like them to be more human than bow-legged animal, creepy tentacle thing. Yeah, it falls into the range of fantasy porn. I mean, there's a lot of fantasy stuff written on Nifty as well. satyrs and demons and all kinds of other stuff as well that have been sexually eroticized. And I mean, artwork is just the natural progression of that. And I'm sure, and then there's porno out there that some of these porn studios out in California, they've gotten access to some of these special effects people. So you've got alien. What was that? There was an Avatar porno. Avatar, blue aliens, sparkly, and all the other stuff. Somebody made a porno with those kind of characters and the latex prosthetics and lighting and black lighting, all this other cool stuff. And they had sex with these weird alien-looking penis things.
And it's selling like gangbusters, I bet.
Part of it is the morbid curiosity about it. I don't think a lot of people are beating off to it, but I'm sure there's somebody who appreciates it.
Mm-hmm.
All that falls into the realm of, jerking off with porno. All the same. From cave wall to anthropomorphic animal, hentai girl getting tentacle rape. That all falls in the same range.
Okay, so that brings up an interesting notion. It used to be very popular to have to watch Cinemax or Showtime, or if you traveled, there were sex video channels in hotel rooms that you could pay to watch that type of stuff. Does that really exist much anymore, or is that kind of phased and changed because of the internet?
I know growing up for me, I grew up I lived with my grandmother for a number of years, and she worked third shift at a cotton mill. So I had a lot of time all to myself all night long. And she had satellite. And we had a cousin who worked for the college who gave us all the decryption codes. So we had stuff unlocked that we really weren't supposed to have unlocked, especially as a 12-year-old boy. And I was watching a lot of porno really early on. And I remember there was this Canadian channel called American Triple Ecstasy. And it wasn't just the porno side of it. It was actually genuinely funny because they were saying things that nobody said on even like late night TV. It was really hilarious, parody stuff they were doing. And that channel fell to the wayside a long, long time ago. But it was good education for me, but I think that's lost on most people nowadays. I mean, I know satellite is still really popular in Middle East countries, and throughout some parts of Eastern Europe and old Eastern Bloc countries still use a lot of satellite. So I imagine there's a lot going on there because you can't really control what's coming in over the air. You can say, oh, that channel's illegal, but if it's being broadcast over your country from 50 miles up, you can't stop that.
This brings to mind a marketing idea for a hotel where every room has a big screen TV and has a webcam attached to it, and you can pick the room number. Hey, why not even do it in a bathhouse? You got a room, you get access to all the webcams.
That's freaking genius.
A voyeuristic exhibitionist sort of thing. It's basically like a live chatterbait or something.
It's like the shopping channel.
Or just watching people have sex right next door. Why not watch them? Why peek over the
next? It's the next progression of the apps that Gary was talking about. Not only here's my still photo that I'm going to unlock for you, I'm going to unlock a 30-second video of me doing something. Yes, my dick looks huge, but here it is next to my hand.
Okay, so I'm very mixed on this new concept business y'all are pitching about a bathhouse or a motel or a hotel that has live cam in each room kind of a thing. Especially when it comes to the bathhouse, because my thought is, well, is it the point of a bathhouse to go and meet other people? And so, while yes, watching them on cam allows you to kind of see them, maybe with other people or by themselves, but isn't that what open doors meant previously? Or, like, I don't know. I'm like...
It's like the open doors, but it's got better lighting. And what do you do with Growler? Or Scruff, you meet someone, you say, oh, that catches my eye, and then you text the guy in the other room and say, hey, let's get together, your room or mine. That way you don't have to leave the room to go see all the other people.
Well, it makes me also think of those viewing booths where at some strip places where it's basically all these booths were around this one central stage, and you just had the stripper in the middle, and then people would put in coins, and the thing raises, and they can watch what's going on in the room. Well, it's the same thing, except you don't have that screen. You don't need that screen. You just have a television screen, and it's a camera.
For those who don't know, but you've seen Madonna's "Open Your Heart to Me," it's that setup.
Yes, I agree. I was going to say that's a good pop culture reference to understand what Jeffrey's talking about. However, I want it in a different direction. What do you think about that idea if there was a club that had that in the bear community? Would you go to that? Would you be interested in watching
in the bear
a guy or a couple on a center stage and you had like a private booth of viewing, so to speak?
I don't think that would work. I think that modern people are turned on by obtainability.
Hmm.
And seeing a person physically in person in front of you, even though behind a piece of glass, is more obtainable than a video that may have been taken 2 weeks or 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Agreed.
Can I have popcorn while we're watching?
Only if you cut a hole in the bottom of the popcorn bucket for when I grab.
There was, and notably, I just have to, I did not make the podcast about cruising and bookstores, but notably there was a bookstore, I want to say Utah, where there were booths. There wasn't it wasn't set up. There was a central thing, but there were booths, and there was a window on each booth that if you put in a quarter and the person on the other side put in a quarter, the glass would defrost.
Correct.
Until it ran out, and then it would frost back over. I had never seen that before, and I'm like, what happens if he doesn't put in a quarter?
You don't get to see anything.
Damn it! It was the next best thing to having the person follow you into the booth, right?
Yeah, Hadrian and I have this love affirmation of those locations. We've discussed this before, but yes, the electronic frosted window is a newer technology, I'd say maybe in the past 10 years, that kind of came to the front for a lot of adult bookstores where, yes, you had to put 2 tokens in, 1 on each side, in order to be able to see the other person, blah, blah, blah. Which,
to be clear, NASA came up with that technology in 1972. I don't think this is what they had in mind.
Remember, but just like media, porn has been the innovators of things.
Practical use for impractical technology.
There you go.
I've been in those kind of booths before, and again, it's obtainability. If it was like 5 or 6 other people all watching the same guy, I'd be like, too much competition. Not going to deal with this because I don't know. I want someone to want me, not want me because of I'm one of many, and that's just.
Unless you're just looking for something to masturbate to.
I agree. As a masturbatory aid, that could work. But I don't understand the effort you would go to someplace, sit in a booth, be worried about cleanliness and what you're going to do after you come and everything else, and then why not just do that shit at home and pop up an X tube?
okay, so what if, in addition to what I was describing, you could pay more, notably a much significant increase than like a quarter or whatever, and you could actually the glass removed, and you could actually choose to participate.
Well, that's really illegal, but that's touching, and most bouncers will kick your ass for that. That's a strip club. That's essentially a strip club at that point. That's a VIP booth method of doing a strip club as well, and a step further than that, and you're talking about prostitution. This has all been done on the straight realm.
Well, I don't know if it's really prostitution.
This as well.
I think the legal skirting is you are not paying to have sex with a person, you are paying to have access to the space.
That could be considered stripping because you're removing obstacles between physical contact. I mean,
Okay,
glass and underwear do the same thing in this case.
So if we go back to the screen, the TV screen thing and cameras, if you did the hotel, you basically use the channel to browse to see who's in the other rooms, and be like, is this somebody I'm interested in? When you find somebody you're interested in, you can call the room, say, hey, we want to hook up. I'm room such and such. They switch their camera over. Do you like them? Then you hook up.
It's a bear run with
way than
then again.
is that?
why didn't you just do it from home? Why didn't you pop up in Grindr from home and tapped on a guy and says, "Hey, I'm at 4462, whatever.
Wait.
Come on over." I mean, that's the same exact thing.
Well, except
Gabe?
that at home there can be obstacles. Like you've got a partner who isn't okay with that, but who wants you to be able to go out and have fun, or you're straight or bi or whatever, and
Or you're out of town.
But also, for me,
they want to have sex, but they don't want to do it in their own home.
For me personally, though, I don't know, this may be just me, part of the fun of going to glory holes, of going to parks, of going to, I don't know, even in the internet, Growler and stuff like that, part of the fun is the hunt. Going to a bathhouse, I want to walk around and see if I can convince someone to sleep with me with body language, not just being blatant and saying, "Hey, I got a dick, you got a dick, let's rub dicks together." Sometimes it's all the other hunting that goes on around cruising and being a predator of men that makes it fun for me. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe that's me personally, but I don't know. At some point,
I think that's just a personal. That's a personal.
Yeah.
So I've devised a solution. You have a screensaver for your room. You can find me at the pool. You can find me at...
Oh. It's like adult bookstores and gays, like the Castro. I think there was a bookstore down there with glory holes and that sort of thing once upon a time. And I went there and I'm like, it was all gay guys running around. I'm like, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. Why would I come to this? There's no real point to this environment. As where I want to go to the glory hole places that are in the fucking suburbs. I want men that are in there like peeking around corners and being nervous and like, oh, if my wife found out, turning off their phones so their tracking isn't working. That's what I want. I want the naughty aspect of it. If it's easy and it's just acceptable, I'm like, well, why the hell am I doing that? I'll go home and...
Because the people who do it don't want that challenge of the hunt to find a cock to suck.
Okay.
They want to go to a place where they know they can
Wow.
find it. That's where it is.
That's fair. I agree.
Okay.
The
So
reason why they go to the reason why the fishermen go to this spot this time of year is because all the fish are there because they're trying to catch the fish.
So
They're not trying to hunt down a fish in
Right.
some obscure place. They're trying to get it because they need as much as they can right now.
The biggest fish that's been hanging out for 10 years, and he's big and he's juicy and he's ready to get in your fucking mouth.
Okay, so this is my takeaway. Jeffrey says the reason why those places exist is because it's known that's where you can get it. Hadrian thinks that you're too lazy, it's too easy, and he prefers to actually go to the places that it's not as I guess, easy or known, per se.
They're two viable options. They're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
There's no right or wrong.
So then I have a question about on Growler and the apps that Gary was talking about. I know that you hunt for people and you look for people and I would say only about 10% of the time does anyone ever actually follow through or show up. But do you also do texting, like you remember old phone sex where you'd call and talk on the phone and jack off? Do you do text sex on the apps? With the advent of the microphone that will text what you speak, which is mitigated by really bad spell check, but when you
send message to Gary saying, "I love you."
Did you mean Mary Horsey?
No. And of course,
You're saying something like, "I love you." You try saying something like, "Let's have a three-way with Vaseline and Crisco and give me a good bukkake," and start using all these complex words, and Siri's going to fuck this shit up and be like, "I'm texting your mother this." I don't know what bukkake is, but I'm going to put Bagukan or something crazy. I don't know, whatever.
Okay, so
yeah, I need to check something here.
So yeah, the
I want to
question
go
is,
back to something previously that talking about the two extremes, the easy to get and the hunt prey kind of thing. And I think, Gabe, you had used two words, but actually I really wanted to have a discussion about. Now I can see how I can bring it together. Do we think bear runs is the middle ground? of the prey hunt versus easy to get because it's a dedicated time focus. And notably, over 10 years of putting on a run, specifically going on 11, technology has vastly changed that landscape. Because in the first years that we put it together, you literally had to leave your hotel room, you had to interact, you had to go to the hospitality space, you had to talk to people, you had to go to the play space. Like, it was the only way you were going to get dick and ass. I'm sorry, it's just how it was. Now, people show up, and this is all I see all the time. Like, their head is buried in a phone or a tablet or a phablet, and I'm like, for real? And then, one of the feedbacks we get is, I didn't get a chance to talk to people.
I missed that, Hadrian. What?
We're not calling that shit phablet. You just no.
Nobody tweeting a phablet, right?
Word.
Yes, it is. It's a phone that's as big as a fucking tablet. It's a phablet.
So we can call
the Galaxy Note 8 is ridiculously huge, and it looks like a fucking clipboard. You should not talk on it.
This is one
headset.
I think on the random act of coveiness, I already explained my whole thing about sizes of phones.
So, Hadrian, bear runs. Yes or no, meeting in between?
Yeah, I mean, back when I first started going to bear runs in like 99 and 2000, I mean, yeah, you had to get out of the room. And then around 2002 or so, I think Bear 4 and 1 kind of took off a little bit, but really the only thing you could do was say, I'm in this city. And you would notice this explosion of bears, and you could pick through, and that was okay. And there were a lot of people who were just sitting at their computers. But again, you're right, getting out there and going out of your way to go meet guys. And then, of course, 2008 or so, Growler, Grinder come along, and now you see a lot of this, and I'm guilty of it too, because there are some runs that are just too damn big. Like TBRU, massive, and it's hard to get a handle on the number of people that are there and weed through everyone, because you'll go there and probably only see 20% of the people, and an app helps you get down to business, especially if you've been chatting with someone before. Because, like, I'll chat with people, and I'll see someone in Dallas. I'm like, hey, you're hot. I'm coming to Dallas in March. I'll be there for TBRU, maybe a few extra days, maybe we can hook up. And then you'll get on the app, because you don't expect people to write you back when that time comes, or you hunt them down. It's just too many people to manage. So when I go there, I'll look through, and I'll see them on my app. I'm like, hey, I'm here now. Maybe we can meet. That kind of things. It's kind of like getting a dance card penciled in, and then you ink it in with the app when you get there.
I have.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. I mean, I wish there could be an event where you could have a no cell phone area kind of thing. I don't know. But you're right. The hospitality suite. Like, we just had an event here in town, Bear Bash. Yeah, Bear Bash, and there were a lot of people on phones in their rooms, but not a lot of people at the pool or at the hospitality area, because they were hooking up with other means. And I think those people might be missing the point of an event as far as a social atmosphere, and not just dick hunting.
Well, okay, so Gabe, I want to let you speak in just a moment. That goes to something that our mutual friend of ours, William, has joked about for years, but I think what you just described, Hadrian, is the reality. If people go to a hotel for a bear run and they don't really leave their hotel room much and they don't do the activities, it literally has become a catered orgy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
As opposed to the concept of a bear run, which is a social interaction aspect, which is I go when I'm with a group of people and we do these various things, like we go on tours, we hang out by the pool, we have a dance, we go to the bar, we have a contest, whatever it is. Like, there are things that you do as a group together, everyone enjoys that, and people are also getting their freak on. But from what you're describing, if that's the trend and it's switching more towards that, which may be true, I haven't necessarily seen it, but I can't dispute it, because yes, definitely there are people who don't really ever seem to leave their room very much, and maybe that's just it, because for them, it's just a place that you get, a roof over your head and 2-3 square meals a day and as much dick and ass as you can take. I don't know.
Well, that goes back to what I said earlier, is that like strip clubs, there's always notoriously more voyeurs than there are exhibitionists.
It's true.
Or chatterbait or all the other stuff. There's always more people who are willing to let other people pay and watch what they do versus actually paying themselves and doing anything. And those people who are just lurking in their rooms fall into that category of people who are just kind of lurking.
Mm-hmm.
They're there for the halo effect of a bear event's social activities to, get some dick every now and then, and that's what their main goal is. As where other people who show up to the hospitality suites and stuff like that, they get it. They're there for a higher function.
Interesting. Gabe, what were you going to say? I didn't mean to take away.
Was just going to say, when I go to bear runs, generally I've contacted people ahead of time, or I've been going to the same bear run for several years, and I've met people and we've not been able to hook up. I'm like, okay, well, this year, and it's a little bit more relaxed, and it's great. There's always going to be people at the pool and at the hospitality suite and stuff like that. The people that want to stay in their rooms, as much as an app is great, as much as I can see you real time on the phone, it's not life size, and I would rather meet a person in person in the end.
Mm.
I still want to ask, though, when people are using the apps, are you meeting people to meet later, or are you actually texting back and forth and whacking off?
I think it usually ends up being we end up meeting.
I will say, in my experience, the majority of the time it is a lot of texting and nothing else. It doesn't lead to meeting in person, and it doesn't lead to me masturbating. It's a lot of foreplay that doesn't turn into anything, I guess.
It's just chatting. It's just regular, plain, ordinary chatting. Nothing happens.
For me, there's escalation points. I mean, there's the chat part. Sometimes your picture's good enough. Sometimes what you say will get my attention. And then if that goes well, we can do an unlock and compare body parts. And if that seems to match up, then I guess we at some point, and you are coming to my area, or you are that's that insanely hot. It's kind of a point system. It's kind of weird. And there's no rules. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I sent you my picture. Shouldn't you send me your picture? I'm like, I didn't like your picture. This isn't a tit-for-tat system here.
And point of order, I'm sorry, I have to bring it up right now. If you're going to send me a picture of you with your cat by the seaside, I'm not going to send you a picture of my dick.
Thank you. Or I love the pictures. I love the people who unlock immediately, and it's just a picture of, this is my left side of my face, and this is the right side of my face. This is me smiling. This is me changing clothes. Oh, you see the clothes over there? I was just wearing those a minute ago because this is my own personal photo shoot. And this is me with my cat. And I'm like, I think you're missing the point of an unlock. And I'm like, all my pictures are dick.
So we've had this discussion.
That's not equal trade. A picture of your grandma's Afghan is not equal to my cat.
Thank you.
We have had this discussion before where Hadrian has called me out on not having the appropriate type of unlock picks, but I have testified that, one, those picks don't really exist, and two, I never do what you just said, and I'm on the same page as you, Hadrian. There's nothing more annoying than someone who doesn't say anything or more than like a one-word introduction, and then immediately they unlock their picks. I'm like, really? Like, that's not how this works. You don't walk up. I have never been in a bar where somebody walks up and just flashes their junk in my face upon saying hello or woof. You don't do that in real time. I don't understand where people think that's acceptable.
I have to educate people on that. I'm like, if you wouldn't do it in real life, you shouldn't do it on the app. And that goes for boring stuff too. I hate people that say to me, hi, and then I say, hello, how are you? And they're like, I'm doing good. What am I supposed to do with that? Or they say, oh, just having a hard day at work. I'm like, I don't know you. I don't care about your work. I don't know anything about you. You're in bumfuck Alabama. You're not coming to Orlando, are you? Or anything? Don't make me milk you. You contacted me.
Text back, have you seen Facebook?
Yeah, something. A lot of people who are time wasters, and I have people who think I'm their fucking pen pal. And they want to meet, hi, every day. Hi, how are you? Good. No answer back. They just disappeared the next day. I'm like, no, what is that? We're not passing on the street. You don't nod at me every day. So the app is, I love apps, and I love using Growler to find dick, but there's a lot you have to go through to get it. And I think that's what leads to this current culture of, as mentioned earlier, that 90% of those hookups never happen. Because we weed through so much junk.
Okay, so I have one thing to say, and totally obscure, but it goes back to something that Hadrian said. You can milk me anytime you want. Anyways, moving on.
They just stayed in the Tidal Wave Hotel.
We are not starting this all over again. We have already discussed this repeatedly on this podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want some of this? The space in your crotch? Did you want that? Did you want this dick in your butt? Did you want that? No. Oh, you're turning red. I see you. Then you need to come to the Tidal Wave Hotel, bitch.
Bitch, who walked away and was hungry and had to go eat dinner?
How will you?
Hashtag shame. I believe that isn't that the first hashtag we put on here? Maybe we need to put
the first tag of this episode is going to be shade. But I will say this, Hadrian, you realize now that even if we, even/when we do hook up, because I believe in possibilities, we have to keep this going because the moment we stop arguing and fighting about this, everyone's going to know that we did it. So I think there's something to be said for the mystery.
Hey, hold on. No. All this means is when it does happen, you just need to remember to keep arguing about it so nobody knows.
Correct. We just keep going on to having this discussion about how the first time we met we didn't because somebody was hungry.
Well, yeah, because hooking up with Gary at Tidal Wave is ever going to happen. Producer of the event, right? Ever going to happen?
No. Tidal Wave's in Florida. We're Dredge Fur.
Oh, Tidal Wave. My bad.
Yeah, wrong one. Both deal with water.
Correct, and both have water parks. One is outdoors and one is indoors. And
so
I will say this, Hadrian, if you come to Drench Fur,
you will make time.
No. Everybody, Gabe very well knows this about me. Like everybody thinks because I'm in charge of the run. Like and that's a weird thing. Also, I've discussed previously with some other folks is that when you're in charge of an event or you work on an event, people think that that's like sexy or more alluring. Like they want to, have fun with you. And I'm like, it's the worst timing ever. The thing you don't do is try to do something when the other person is already fully booked with something else. And so, like, I've had guys that I've dated, and the run comes up, and I tell them, just so you know, for about 10 days, like, my life is going to be completely inside out and upside down. So, like, there will not be, unfortunately, time to spend together like normal, or other things. And there have been some guys that I've dated, and they're like, oh, like long distance, and they come to the run, and I tell them, I will get maybe 3 or 4 hours sleep each night, and that does not mean that we're going to have, sexy time. Most likely I will pass out in bed, and, if you want to hold me, that's great, but...
Cuddles are fine, but you're probably not going to get anything.
Awkward silence. Okay, so...
That's where, events are where apps come in handy, and I've had more than one occasion where I've been to TBRU or something like that, and I start chatting with someone, they're like, hey, you're fucking hot. I'm like, yeah, I'm helping run the event. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to get any from you. Moving on.
Ouch.
Well, they gave you a compliment. They see if you were available. You weren't, and they're like, oh.
But then you put them in their to check back later folder.
I mean, just like I live 2 miles from Orlando Airport. Anyone going on a cruise, a Disney cruise, or going to Disney or Universal, they pass through this airport. And some people land in daddy bears and married guys and all kinds of other stuff. They log right into Growler as soon as they land. And I'm like, hey, you're hot. And they're like, yeah, just, hitting a flight on my way to Afghanistan or something. And there are people who just pass through this airport all the time. And I'm like, well, no point in really talking. You're not staying here for more than 20 minutes.
Which means you need to go to the airport and hang out.
What was that?
Go to the airport and hang out.
Yeah, no, I'm not a senator.
Oh.
But he doesn't mind sleeping with future senators.
Oh! Zoro's now.
Can we talk about Brian Sims and how hot he is? Just saying.
Okay, I will say this. I am very proud of the fact that I come from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and Brian Sims is a representative of my state. That said, the boy physically is not my type.
Aww.
He suffers from perfect beard syndrome. He has PBS, and I'm very happy for him that he has a nice full beard and he looks very beautiful and he has amazing, gorgeous eyes and great bone structure, the whole bit. And yes, there's talk in the gay bear community that they would like to see him follow up Hillary after 2016 as a presidential candidate. However, if you've seen the whole picture of Brian, he's on the slim side. Nice guy, attractive and everything, but that's kind of, I'm like, meh, all right,
They all get to that eventually. I'll
I
get
don't know.
that eventually, and I'll be ready for it. When he's in his 40s and he's all pudgy and stuff, like, hey, Mr. Sims. Hey, Vice President Sims.
Listen to you.
I'm attracted to power. What can I say?
Oh, that's very interesting. Gabe, were you going to say something? I'm sorry. I think we all kind of talked over each other.
No,
I wasn't. No.
Gotcha.
So, just ask a question to the group. Has everyone here actually hooked up and gotten someone to come over exclusively for meeting them on an app?
Oh, yeah.
Like a modern app, like Growler, Grinder, Scruff, not Bear 411. That's not modern.
Matt
That's
says,
not really nice.
Hi, hot man. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
he's playing with his nipples right now. Hadrian.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
I don't think he remembered that night.
Oh, no, I'm quite sure he remembers that night. Why he's not getting on cam to look at Hadrian, I don't know. But
He does not remember the Power Hour, at least not the whole thing.
Oh, I'm putting this all together now.
there you go.
He's the guy who puked on camera.
Oh!
He
And
did.
it's dead.
He was
And
super horrible. He was so embarrassed. I'm like,
And-
you poor puppy, I want to take care of you.
I
Okay,
told
so-
you, Gabe, have you
No blush. The redhead, he did a really good job.
Okay, this is kind of sad because
Matt. Oh, here we go.
Where is he?
Gabriel?
There's this app called Cubs Out Loud.
He's not getting laid anytime soon for that.
Aw.
Have I told you the best part about dating a 25-year-old?
Stamina?
No,
High
he's
sex
like
drive?
he's like an app himself. Every other week, every couple weeks, there's another 25-year-old that comes over for a three-way. So
Nice.
I have a 25-year-old too, but he mostly brings other daddy bears.
which not a bad thing.
Okay, things Gary did not expect to get revealed in today's episode.
Okay. So Gary, now the two of us need to find a young cub to bring through. No,
But Jeff, you are a young cub, Jeff.
Wait a minute. Aren't I older than Hadrian?
I think you are. I'm 35.
Oh no, I'm 1 year younger than you are.
That's right. We established that during the drinking times.
Yeah, I took my shirt off, then another ding, and you took your shirt off.
Yes, I blacked out at that point.
Okay,
But
so
video footage.
all right, so here's the really interesting thing. This is what I'm literally doing right now to answer the question that was asked, I think, by Hadrian. I am going through my growler, and I am looking, and I have yet to find a single person that I've chatted with on Growler that I've actually met and hooked up with.
Really?
Yes, I've met some people online, but a good majority of these people I'm actually friends with, and how I met them was not through the app, but like going to a bear run, going to a bar night, going to something else. I don't know how else to say it. It's kind of sad. It's depressing me actually to keep looking and being like, no, like for instance, there's Hadrian. Hadrian's like one of my favorites on Growler, but nope.
You haven't gotten to get with him at all.
I stand
Somebody
corrected.
was hungry.
I now stand corrected. I realize there's somebody in Texas I met through the app.
There you go.
I will admit that
Congratulations, you're a slut.
You're in my country, and you didn't tell me anything about this?
Probably because you might know this person. Awkward. Anyways.
Okay, I really want to know now.
Well, I'm
So-
certainly not revealing it on the podcast recording.
So the people that do hook up with people, meeting through apps, I have to admit that a good 60% of them are when I'm out of town or the other person's in from out of town. It's pretty rare that it happens with someone here in town.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There are a lot of people here in Orlando, and there's a lot of people willing to hook up, but it's mostly a time of scheduling. I don't know. I'm finding that I'd rather spend more time playing video games with my boyfriend than going to hook up with someone random. I don't know. That's crazy. But when I do happen to have time, or he's busy with doing something else at work or something like that, and I have a moment, I'm willing. Like where I work at, there's this cute blonde daddy bear. He's married, and he's on Growler occasionally, and we've talked about hooking up a lot. And he's literally 100 yards from me. It'd be so easy. But I don't know. It hasn't happened. But there are other guys that have been super hard. But it's mostly guys that are from out of town. They're flying through. They're like, "Oh, my wife's going to be gone from the hotel for a day. Why don't you come by and service me?" I'm like, "Come on, that." So I don't know. It's completely random how the stars have to align. The greater the distance, the greater the stars have to move in order for a hookup to happen. So I don't know.
It's true.
There's time, there's place, there's risk, there's I don't know, mood.
Interest.
Yeah,
So-
the interest and mood, and sometimes you meet somebody and you're like, "Oh, you're smoking. Well, you're gross. Bye." That kind of stuff. I don't know. Sometimes it happens.
Okay, so moving into a slightly different category, we haven't really actually gone into the actual websites, like Bear 411, Bear Underground, HeftyNet, Recon, Craigslist. I've used Craigslist. I've gotten actually a couple gems out of those, some repeat customers.
Like you actually met them.
Yes. In fact, I just had one that's a repeat customer that I got through Craigslist drop by this morning.
Did you bring coffee?
No.
Donuts?
No.
Sex?
Demon?
The sex, yes. In fact, he dropped his clothes off by the door.
Wow.
That's a plus.
Well, I
But,
I
don't know.
I do have another one, but he moved away, and I'll tell you, he was a bisexual, and he was a buff guy. And I'm like, why are you attracted to me? And I'm like, he's fucking gorgeous. But then he moved away, so I can only see him when he's back in town for some reason.
Probably best. It could result in a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the Craigslist thing to me is interesting because over the years, the past couple of years, my local Craigslist ads have grown in size. Notably, the area where the most postings are is casual encounters M for M. The actual men seeking men thing is not updated anywhere near as often, which to me speaks a lot to the societal stigma issue about being gay.
Actually, I always blamed that on navigation problem on Craigslist. It's easier to get to the M4M casual section than it is to get to the hookups area.
Oh, well, see, I feel differently. If you go to personals, what I'm saying is you go to personals, you click men seeking men, that section of listings is much shorter than if you go personals, casual encounters, M for M. You have to do like an extra click, and then you see way more listings, at least locally here.
Well, for me, you pull up austin.craigslist.com, and you have this slew of categories. There's a category for personals, but you don't have to click into anything. You can immediately go into male for male, or you can go into casual encounters. But yeah, there's still that extra step. Once you hit casual encounters, you have to M for M, or MM for M, or M for MM, or whatever.
But Craigslist is one of those websites that's for buying and selling. It's for hookups. Bear 411, for example, is how I keep up with the friends I meet at the runs and while I'm traveling. I don't necessarily hook up off of Bear 411.
Craigslist for me, I don't know. I haven't really hooked up off Craigslist in a long time, actually. I just haven't had the need to. It's been traditionally a good place to meet married men because it's much more anonymous than having to open an account with Growler or any other app, or Bear411 and having to pay for it. And can I get on today or can't I?
If you have a Craigslist account, well, I was just selling such and such.
You can actually post anonymously, can't you? You don't have to open an account. You can just post. You just have to have an email verification, and that's not bad. I don't know. I've encountered that with that particular app. But other kinds of guys, I don't know. There's a certain level of sleaziness that kind of comes with Craigslist. If you read a lot of the posts that are on there, there's a lot of talk about bareback, a lot of talk about all kinds of unsavory stuff that I just don't want to be associated with. And then Growler, I mean, that's a real individual. I'm confident it is. And there's very rare that it's someone who's on the down low or something like that. And maybe it's just the quality of people I'm looking for sometimes goes up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really used Craigslist. I mean, Bailey uses Craigslist. He uses it to cruise guys, and then he uses it to get their attention. He gets some pictures and trade some pictures, and then he stops talking to them. Pretty much, the Craigslist conversation stops once he gets done jerking off.
so Craigslist is a masturbation tool for him.
I've done that with Growler. Like, I'm chatting with someone, we're sending pictures, blah blah blah, and then they'll just stop talking, and I'm like, oh, I guess they got off, or I will do the same. And I usually have the courtesy to say, well, I scored it and it's midnight, bye. Turning into a pumpkin. So, I don't know. And Bear411, I'll be honest, I use Bear411 to keep up with all the friends I met in the 2000s.
That's the people who haven't moved on.
At 1.0 and needs to be forgotten, in my opinion, but for some reason it has this claw hold on the community.
Fortunately true. That's why we recommend people to go to bearunderground.net.
I agree. It's a very good site. It's getting better. It's very Web 2.0. It needs a little more mobile functionality, but otherwise I love it.
Yeah, and actually, even with the current mobile functionality, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's really nice. Also, I just recommended to Ian some additional new features, but he kind of works on his upgrade that he's working on right now, so I don't see my request happening anytime soon. But he seemed interested. But yeah. So yeah, Bear411 needs to go the way of the dinosaur and just go away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people still pay for it and like it, so it sticks around. I don't know why people like it. They just do. It has changed. He has updated a few things, but just not quite enough.
But I will say one of the big lacking functionalities of Bear Underground is that I haven't found a way to integrate it into my sexual hunting skills yet. That's a thing for now.
Look, if you need some sort of feature, like right now, I've requested bear codes and hanky codes to be put onto the website for profiles. So hopefully we'll eventually get that. If you have any other feature requests, just send them to Ian. I'm sure he'll consider it.
I don't know. I think I've kind of downgraded my website hunting when it comes to looking for a hookup. I don't know. That's just maybe it's just me. I'm not sure because mobile's so much easier to use. GPS is a super important functionality. Bear411 has some of that a little bit, and there's some other apps that do, but those apps don't charge me $10 a month.
Yeah.
And Craigslist works, but again, it relies on email functionality, which is super low end. Mm-hmm. Again, that's old tech. And Gay.com or the old Infram chat rooms that are still existent. I went and looked a few months ago. Infram chat rooms from AOL still exist.
Nice.
And they're still populated. That's weird. It's mostly old men. I'm like, did you guys not move and change with age? I don't know what happened.
I get my internet through AOL through the telephone lines.
Right. I don't know. It really needs to be as accessible as possible and as seamless with the way I want to express myself sexually, and that tends to come out textually with pictures. And then if we want to share video, we can move to text message if you're hot enough. And I use text messaging for sexting a lot. That's just me. I don't know. I use it a lot. If you're that hot, I mean, once every few weeks or so, I'll meet someone that's absolutely hot enough to say, okay, let's text some stuff back and forth, especially if you're coming to Orlando. So.
I prefer the apps, and then there's people using Kick. which is a really sucky app. But I said, my kick is such and such. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. I don't know why that's such a Kick or WhatsApp and even Facebook. People want, I don't know. I've discovered, I mean, me as doing porno and being accessible to people, people want to grab me for exclusive communication. They want to take me to some other level to get me alone, kind of thing, out of the community. Is that me?
Mhm.
Oh, Gary's thing is acting up.
But I think we're pretty much coming to the end. We've talked about our digital release. Any additional comments before we wrap up?
Thanks for the links, Adrian.
You're welcome. Enjoy them. Definitely enjoy all those. Those are a lot of fun. And masturbate responsibly and hook up responsibly. And if you're in a country where hooking up might be frowned upon, don't put yourself at risk. Don't get beheaded because you want to get some dick.
That's probably a good idea.
That's an important thing that I think you should probably brush on just for a brief second. Is that there was a warning actually on Growler and Grindr and all those other apps recently that said that if you're in Egypt, the authorities there are using apps to track down homosexuals, and that's not cool. So, app responsibly.
All right.
Well,
No, go
I
ahead.
was going to say the same thing is true in your own country and your in your own home. Meet someone somewhere else and then get to your home, because there are people out there that are going to fake themselves on the apps, and it's happened. Maybe it depends on the section of the country you're in, but I know in my city you have to be careful.
All right. All right, let's wrap up the show. I think we got pretty much everything covered. You can find us in the internet at cubsoutloud.com. Shoot us an email at cubsoutloud@gmail.com. Facebook.com/cubsoutloud. Also join the COL entourage over there. You can find us at twitter.com/cubsoutloud, Google+, google.com/plus cubsoutloud. Also the COL entourage community on Google+. Also, please pop over to bearunderground.net, the official Bear website of Cubs Out Loud. Join the COL Cubs Out Loud entourage, as it's listed there. You can find me anywhere on the internet. It says BoxTech, Box Puppy, Box Cub, Box something or other. And Gary, if you can.
I can be found as GareBear73 pretty much anywhere on the web.
Gabe, Adrian?
I can be found at hadrianm.com, and it's Hadrian M on almost every service out there.
I'm Mr. Majors or Gabrial Majors on Google+, and Gabe's Weekly Dose on Tumblr.
And with that, say good night, everybody!
Good night, everybody.